It's the matinee show once again.
Yeah, good movies this week.
This was a really good week. It's like one of the best weeks that I can remember. Like, you know what I mean? We see good movies every week, but this week it just seemed like it was pretty much all good.
Yeah, let's get Creepshow out of the way.
Yeah, so the first thing we're going to talk about, as we usually do, is the latest episode of Creepshow, the Shudder original series. Now, this was actually the last episode of the first season. They only had 6 because I guess they just wanted to see like how it was going to do and stuff like that. This was kind of like a pilot season. Thankfully, it did so well. Like I said, it broke all kind of records on Shudder, like, number of people streaming, new people signing up and stuff like that. So it actually has been greenlighted for a second season.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be better actually than this one.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like, I would imagine that the second season will probably have more episodes, depending, and maybe they'll have like a higher budget and shit like that.
Yeah, and for a pilot season, this is a pretty good pilot.
It was. It's like
usually bad a lot of times pilot seasons.
I mean, it was uneven, like obviously, but it's an anthology and that's to be expected. It's like not everything can be like the original Creepshow movie where like every single story was good. It's like pretty much everything. Yeah, it's like pretty much every other anthology I've seen has always got like 1 or 2 really good stories and then others that are just like meh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you get the same thing here. But like I said, kudos to everybody involved that they actually like pulled this off and, got it all off the ground. And I'm really glad that it got renewed for a second season. And I'm like really looking forward to it.
One of my friends on Tom Shitty Movies on Facebook. That's my Facebook group, Tom Shitty Movies.
With 2 Ds.
With 2 Ds, Shitty. He thought that the movie he didn't like it that much the whole season.
The series.
Yeah, the series. He said it was kind of like something made for TV. I kind of have to disagree. I mean, if you go back and look at the old Tales from the Crypt TV series, which I thought for the most part the writing was good. Mm-hmm. Production values were very low on that. This is a lot better.
Yeah, it's like they only have so much money. You know what I mean? And it's like this was, it's a pretty ambitious project.
It's on par with the Netflix series.
Oh yeah, and it's easily better than a lot of Netflix series that I've seen.
Yeah, and the motif is like the original Creepshow, with the animated sequences in between, and I liked it. Now in this particular one, the first story was a lot better than the second story.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
The first story was about this company that's it's like a cosmetic surgery type company.
It's called Skin Crawlers is the name of the story.
And they have kind of like this replacement for liposuction. They're going to put this damn fluke in you that they found in the Amazon.
It's like an eel/leech or something.
Leech. Stick it on the outside and it drinks all your fat away. Well, that shit doesn't turn out good. You know how it is.
Obviously.
This is Creepshow. Second one was about Nessie, right?
Nessie like
what was it called?
It's called Champy, which
is
like a real. It's a real thing. It's like a Nessie.
Lake Champlain.
Well, I mean, it's not a real thing, but it's like a real legend.
It's a real legend
that there's like a Nessie-like creature living in Lake Champlain.
Yeah, and this one, I just kind of couldn't hold my attention.
Yeah,
I don't remember a whole lot about it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, so going back to the first one, which was actually directed by Roxanne Benjamin. She also directed the Lydia Lane's Better Half one, the one about the 2 women in the elevator. So she directed this first one as well. Like I said, the story was called Skin Crawlers. And yeah, it had to do with, it made me laugh because like the main guy in this was played by Dana Gould, who I remembered because like I said, I used to watch like a lot of stand-up and shit like that on Comedy Central, like back in the late 80s and early 90s. And it seemed like he was on a lot of stuff. Like there was a lot of his stand-up and everything like that. And I was like, wow, did they put a fat suit on him or did he really get that fat? I mean, he's not like fat, but he was like pretty chubby. So he was, he's looking to like lose weight and shit like that. And he hears about this company called Skin Deep by Sloan. And the sleek and perfect like doctors like they found this fucking eel/leech.
Looked like a blood fluke or a fluke worm.
Or something like that. It's kind of like big, you know what I mean? It was kind of like an eel size pretty much.
Yeah, it was big, yeah.
And they're like, so basically this thing just eats fat and it will make you like skinny and beautiful like immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like, does it eat like all your excess skin too? Because like they don't really seem to talk about that when you talk about losing that much weight in a couple of days.
Turns out this shit lays eggs in you too. All right. And I guess they didn't know. I don't know how they didn't know. They said they had human trials.
You know what I thought? What ends up? Well, no. What ends up happening is that they did have human trials, but the problem was that there was an eclipse. And there was like some kind of like weird like magnetic anomaly or something like that. And that's what I don't even know. I can't remember if the eels like actually did lay eggs in there, or if the eclipse or like something having to do with like the climatic, stuff was like making the eels like bust out of the bodies.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I guess they did lay eggs in there, or they stayed in there or something like that.
I was sitting there drinking tequila.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying it. I'm like, I'm not trying to overanalyze shit.
Right.
Just, I go, this is going to go bad. Next thing I know, they're fucking turned into,
but that's why.
So,
so the thing is, it's like, okay. I guess, I mean, the doctor, I think he even explains, it's like, we did do human trials on this and it's totally safe and everything like that, but they didn't do a human trial during an eclipse, and I guess it was like this particular thing that happened during the eclipse, like whatever the magnetic field of the earth. Or
and how'd the second one go?
But that was the first one. Like I said, the first one, was super fun. It was like really gory. Dana Gould's character was like great in it. Is like this guy that, he was like actually reluctant to like get the shit done at first. Because as soon as he finds out it's this big fucking eel that like sucks the fatty, he's like, yeah, no thank you. But then he gets talked into it later on because he sees this other woman that was there with him in the waiting room, and she was like this big fat woman, and then he sees her like a day or two later and she looks like perfect and thin. Yeah. So he's like, oh, well, maybe I will do that. Well, shit, it's, I can see how most people would probably do that. If they said, hey, you can like lose weight in like one day and all you have to do is attach this leech and it'll suck your fat out, I'd probably do that.
Yeah. Now, what was the second one about?
Now, the second one, this one, like, for some reason, this one like kind of disappointed me. It's like the name of the story was, I think it was called By the Silver Water of Lake Champlain. This is based on a short story by Joe Hill, and it was directed by Tom Savini, of all people. So it's basically about, there's a family, and it's like a mom, and the dad has died, and there's two kids, and kind of like a jackhole stepfather, as you have, because, Stephen King and Joe Hill both have those. Yeah. You know what I mean? Stephen King must have really like hated his dad or whatever. But he has a lot of those types of characters. And Joe Hill does as well. So the dad has died looking for Champy, this supposedly mythical creature that lives in Lake Champlain. Like I said, it's just like the Loch Ness Monster. And, everyone thought he was a nutcase and everything like that. But the little girl, the daughter, she had faith, that Champy was really there. So she's, like, obsessed with, like, going out and, like, looking for it and shit like that. Yeah. So at the start of the story, you kind of get... they're saying something about, like, these atmospheric... She keeps saying these atmospheric conditions as, like, these are just like, the atmospheric conditions the last time that Champy was seen, like, many decades ago or whatever it was. So she gets, like, super excited about it. Everyone's, like, picking on her and shit like that. Then as the story goes on, you find out that, her and her little boyfriend and her brother, they go and they find what they think is Champy, like, dead on the... Sure.
Yeah, she thinks she's going to vindicate her dad's work and everything. But...
Yeah, which was one thing that I thought was kind of messed up, was that she's like, well, I want my dad to get the credit because he gave his life, like, looking for this animal, and everyone thought he was a nut and everything like that, so I want him to get the credit for finding it. So the boyfriend has the weird, he's like, well, this Champy is dead, so I'm just going to carve your dad's name, like, in the side of this animal, and then, like, with the date on it, which I thought was kind of bizarre. And then take a picture of it with the cell phone, which I don't know. I just thought that was really weird. And then, so inevitably the asshole stepfather comes out there and is like, oh, I'm going to make all this money. And I'm just like threatens to kill the boyfriend, which, nice. He's like a fucking teenager and shit like that. So, as will probably be a surprise to no one, the Champy that they find on the shores of Lake Champlain is just the baby Champy. Yeah. And the mom comes and eats the stepfather.
I remember that. Yeah, it wasn't much to it, really.
Yeah, it's like...
the special effects were good. It was...
and
it's like a Twilight Zone level story.
It was, yeah. And it's like, it's okay. Like I said, I was kind of like hoping it would be a better... Because I love Tom Savini. I love Joe Hill. It just felt like the story was a little bit thin. It felt like it could have been a lot shorter. Because I do feel like... I feel like they took too long, like establishing. I'm like, okay, the stepfather is an asshole. Okay, they look for Champy. Okay, this and that. It feels like there was a lot of like repeated dialogue. And
well, I think it was like you said. You know, these things are only about 15 minutes long. It was a very simple idea. They wanted somebody to get eat by like Champy.
Yeah.
So that's really what they wrote a story about that.
Yeah. And I haven't read...
They wrote a story around that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all that.
Well, I haven't read the original story that it was based on, so there might have been a lot...
Oh, there was an original story?
Yeah, it was a Joe Hill short story.
Okay.
He didn't write the teleplay, but he wrote the short story that it was based on.
All right.
So, maybe there was a lot more in it, but I just felt like it was a little repetitive. The creature effects were cool. It's like everybody likes to see the asshole stepfather getting eaten by a giant, like a Loch Ness monster. That was fun. But other than that, I just felt like it was cool. The way it was shot was cool. It was like really foggy and like atmospheric and everything. And I thought that was neat. But other than that, it just didn't really grab me. Like a lot of the characters didn't grab me. I didn't really, you know what I mean?
It's just one of the stories. It's not,
Yeah, it was fine. It was just not like one of my favorites.
It didn't really stand out that
I don't think it was my least favorite of the season, but it was probably like in the bottom.
I'm sure it's hard to make all these little short stories, but so many series have been out there. You know what I mean? You're bound to redo one of them.
Well, there's only so many ideas.
There's only so many ideas you can come up with. You know what I mean? You might want to go back to the Tales of the Crypt series and pull something out of there. You know what I mean? There's only so many different stories you could tell. But anyway, that was the end of the first series, and hopefully the second series will be better.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And like I said, it was hit or miss and stuff like that. But, I admire their fucking spirit and getting this back on there and and it being so successful.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to the second season, and we'll see how it goes. All right, the second movie we saw this week, we actually saw in the theater. This was the Korean film Parasite.
This is an excellent movie.
I had been waiting to see this for a long time. I mean, this came out in Korea back in May, and it's been out in Europe for quite a while because it was at the Cannes Film Festival. It actually won the Palme d'Or, which is like the highest thing, and it won by unanimous vote, which is the first time that's happened for many years.
Yeah.
I think it's also, I don't know if it's this, I guess it'll be next year, but it's like that South Korea's entry into the foreign film Academy Award.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. And if it wins, I honestly, I think it probably should win, even though I haven't seen a lot of other horror foreign films this year.
Having lived in Korea in the early 90s, man, I see these kind of movies and I just fucking love them because I can kind of relate to them. I know the culture and I just see how much they've kind of moved up in the world, you know what I mean? Like they actually have upper classes now. And it's like a class society.
Yeah.
Which they had it back then, but it just wasn't so prevalent, because Korea really hadn't amassed the amount of wealth that it has now compared to what it was when I was there. But it's funny because they're having all these class issues.
Yeah.
About between the working class and rich people.
Yeah.
And that's really what this story is about. It's called Parasite.
Yeah.
The thing is that as you watch the movie, who are the parasites? Well, it's a cool flick. It's about some poor people that live in a shitty half-basement apartment. It's a whole family of them. A couple in their 50s with their children. And they're like early 20s, late teens.
Yeah.
And
they're like college age.
Yeah. And the boy gets recommended to become a tutor to a rich family through a friend that he has who's going overseas. His friend's in love with this girl.
Yeah. Of the daughter of this rich family.
Right, who's only a high school sophomore, really, but it's Korean culture, you know what I mean? They go younger, I guess. Anyway, once he makes his way in there, to make a long story short, he and his family hatched this bizarre and kind of cruel plan to take over every servant position in this damn house.
Yeah.
The dad, they could try to weasel the dad in as a driver, and the mom in as the housekeeper, and the sister in as the art teacher. And that's just the beginning of the trouble. It's funny as hell.
It is.
It's hard to tell if this is comedy or horror. It's both.
Yeah.
It's both. I don't want to spoil the end of it. There's a lot more to this story than meets the eye. I thought I knew what the movie was about until I got about 2/3 of the way through it.
Yeah.
And then that last 1/3, it kind of did a flip on me.
Yeah.
And I said, wait a minute, this is what's happening? What the fuck is this? And there's just a bunch of, existential stuff happening. About, I don't know, there's a lot of different themes about who is worth what and what's valuable in culture and what's valuable in relationships and who is a parasite. Are they living off this rich family, or is this rich family living off of them?
Off the backs of the
poor, and yeah.
It's like, well, that's what I mean. This is easily one of the best movies I've seen this year, and it seems like it's getting... I mean, like some of the reviews I read of it afterward, it's got like 99% like on Rotten Tomatoes. That's audience and
it's a great
critic.
movie.
It's really fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's directed by Bong Joon-Ho, who also did Memories of Murder. He also did Snowpiercer. He did he did all this like great like Okja. He did all his movies. The Host, obviously, if you're a horror fan, like monster movies, he did that one as well. And I feel like this is something that we were talking about this in the car on the way back. I feel like, honestly, some of the best movies that I've seen in the last few years have been Korean, South Korean movies. I Saw the Devil, The Wailing, Train to Busan. And those are all different directors, but, those are easily some of the best movies I've seen in the last few years. Something that Korean film, and maybe Asian film in general, seems to do really well that American films really can't seem to pull off is being sort of genreless. And also pulling off a tonal shift in the middle that doesn't feel like a whiplash.
Yeah, another thing is that there isn't any American contemporary political agendas shoved in the movie. It's just the story. And the story itself has agendas, but they're not really American agendas. They're universal.
Yeah, it's a universal thing that everyone can relate to. I mean, it's like, it's a class struggle.
Right.
So, which Snowpiercer was as well, the same director.
Right.
Had
they done that here, there would have been a Republican-Democrat dichotomy, but that isn't in this movie.
Not really.
No. Because the Koreans don't really have that the way we have it.
And I was trying to think, like, when I was watching it, because I went into this movie knowing who the director was. I had seen a couple of his I saw Memories of Murder, I saw The Host, I saw some of his other movies. And so I knew sort of what I was getting into, but I deliberately didn't read anything. I said, I don't really want to know what it's about or anything like that. I just want to go see it and just kind of let it unfold. And when I was coming, I was like, what genre would you call this? I don't even know what genre you would call it. It's definitely, it starts out as a comedy, maybe kind of like dark, a dark comedy. But
there's suspense and adventure in it.
It's almost kind of like a heist movie or like a scam type movie.
Yeah,
not like a heist, like a bank heist action.
A lot of sneaking around and deception, and it's real funny. And you think they're going to get caught, and they're constantly on getting away with shit just by the skin of their teeth. And there's some good plans that actually come to fruition, but then there's things that unforeseen stuff that comes out of the blue. It's just can't spoil it. You just got to see it yourself.
It's good. Not movie. And then it goes in like directions that you probably don't expect. In a way, even though I'm gonna say it reminded me of another Korean movie, The Wailing. Even though in the way that The Wailing kind of started out, even though it had like this grotesque like mass murder type thing going on, but it almost started out as like this sort of like bumbling cop comedy, and then it just got more and more horror. This one doesn't really go in a horror direction exactly, but it's a similar kind of like tonal shift. Yeah. You know what I mean? As The Wailing. Even though it's not as outright horror as The Wailing was. Yeah, you're also
you're really unsure about who the bad guys and who the good guys are.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about it. I don't even know if there are any, because everyone
is relatable.
Everyone is relatable and sympathetic. And you sympathize with them, but also you question some of their decisions, and you can so it's like a really nuanced type of movie.
Well, that's the way life is. Not everyone's purely good or purely bad.
But the cool thing about it too is that it has like kind of all these weighty themes and shit like that, like in all this kind of subtext. Yeah. But it's also really fun and like really entertaining.
Yeah, it's not boring at all.
It's not like an art flick or anything like that. I mean, like I said, there's a subtext, you can take it if you want it, but it's still just a fun watch. It's an entertaining watch, and which I think is why it's getting so many accolades, because it really balances the best of both worlds. Yeah. Where it's like, it has kind of like this highfalutin message to it, sort of, but it's also like just a great ride. Yeah. It's a great ride, like just to watch, and you can just enjoy it as a film and just have a good time with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's really cool. One thing I wanted to say too, because you were talking about how cool the rich family are called the Parks.
Yeah. They're
how
all
cool their house was.
All Koreans are named Park.
Yeah, it's probably
Park or Kim.
It's like Smith over here.
Yeah.
Well, and the poorer family, I think their last name was Kim.
Yeah.
But
Park and Kim.
So yeah, that's why I guess they wanted them to be like generic, like a stand-in for everyone.
Well, there's only 3 saying names.
Well, yeah,
Park, Kim, and Kwok.
Yeah. I know a Korean guy with his last name Kwok.
Yeah, there's only 3 of them.
He lived in California.
Park, Kim, and Kwok. That's it.
But no, I was gonna say, like, I remember you saying how much you liked the house that the Park family lived in.
Yeah.
That house was entirely built for the movie.
Yeah, it's a real modern
It wasn't style. Like they made it. They did it specifically because they wanted like particular sunlight from particular angles.
It's
and
a modern.
They built, like,
it's an ultra modern Korean interpretation of a Western house. A lot of wood, a lot of concrete, and it's just,
a really nice house.
Yeah, it looked like something from the '60s, really, but not really.
It was like
almost kind of cubist.
Yeah,
you know,
or kind of like Danish modern or something like that.
It was neat.
But yeah, it was like really cool looking. But yeah, and the cinematography in this is like really, really nice. Like the shot blocking and everything like that. It's like a really great looking movie. But yeah, I definitely recommend this. I think anybody. And it wouldn't surprise me if it got all kind of Oscars, because it's already got like fuck tons of other awards, like from all the festivals and shit that it played at, like around the world. Because like I said, it took us a while to get it. Like
it's probably in the theaters as the time that you're watching this.
Yeah, it's limited release, but it's already made over $100 million worldwide.
They'll probably keep it into a lot of theaters.
So I imagine the more that it gets,
there was a lot of people in the audience that we saw it. They were laughing.
Yeah.
People liked it.
Yeah, we actually had a lot of people in our theater as well. So I think that it'll kind of like, as word of mouth goes on, it'll probably like get a lot bigger, because it's already made a shit ton of money in Korea, Germany, France, everything like that. So, but yeah, definitely recommend it. It's an awesome movie. All right, and the third movie we saw this week. We've been looking forward to this one for a long time.
I loved this movie.
Dr. Sleep.
I loved it.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. It's getting good ratings pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Some of the reviewers, like professional reviewers, they're giving it like 76 on Rotten Tomatoes. Some of the people are going, well, I don't know. Do you guys like it? They're asking us if we like it. You know what I mean? They're reviewing the fucking thing. I thought it was an excellent movie. It's a worthy sequel to The Shining, if that's what you want to call it. It is but it's really more of an adaptation of the book that was written. That was kind of a sequel to The Shining. But you get to find out what happens to Danny Torrance and what happens to the Overlook. But there's a lot more to it than that. Dr. Sleep is like the nickname that Danny got. He was using The Shining. He was kind of a.
He was an orderly at a hospice.
He's an orderly at a hospice, so he could use his shining to kind of settle people down and have visions with them as they died, so to help them cross over to the other side.
Yeah.
And then, so the patients called him Dr. Sleep, because he could comfort you while you were dying. But don't want too many spoilers. While he was doing this, he basically comes in contact with a cult of evil people who have The Shining, and they're committing really horrible crimes related to The Shining. They have psychic abilities, and it's so bad that he basically has to come out of retirement and stop this evil cult.
Yeah.
And there's a little girl involved too.
Who is also very, very powerful.
Yeah, she's about 15. I think she's about 14 or 15.
Yeah, it's like, it
takes place over many years.
Yeah.
She's a little kid when she first finds out what's going on and sends in the message. And then I think 8 years later, they eventually meet up and try to stop this cult.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much tell from the trailers that they do have to go back to the Overlook. And they just did a great job. This is not a Kubrick movie. But there are a lot of callbacks and shout-outs to Kubrick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in it, in a way.
Oh, yeah.
The movie ties in Carrie, the fire starter, Dead Zone and The Shining are all kind of they're all kind of brought into the same universe with this movie in terms of the psychic abilities. Remember, like being able to push people with your mind from Firestarter and telekinesis, and they didn't really get into pyrokinesis, but out-of-body experiences and remote viewing.
Yeah,
all
there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, this is like some Carl Jungian type stuff. It kind of took me back to my Mammoth Mountain episode, you know what I mean? This is how I imagine some of this stuff I've seen. The other stuff I think might be plausible, but I haven't seen it. But, this movie kind of puts it all in the same universe. I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was fucking great.
I was really interested to see how you were going to take this because, I read the book, and I read it, fairly recently, so it was, it's only, a couple months ago that I read it, and then you had not read the book.
No.
I kind of gave you an overview, sort of what happened in it, but, interestingly, I wasn't crazy about the book, when I read it, but this movie, I think, sorry, Stephen King, but this movie really improved upon the book. Because, okay, this is directed by Mike Flanagan, who obviously did, this isn't the first Stephen King adaptation he did. He also did Gerald's Game for Netflix, which was amazing, even though a lot of people thought that book was not filmable because so much of it was internal monologue. He also obviously did the amazing Haunting of Hill House series, and he did Hush, Oculus. He did all kind of really, really good movies and series. So, but I still have to say, Mike Flanagan, you have some gigantic brass balls to have attempted this in the first place, because basically what he had to do was he's making an adaptation of the book Dr. Sleep, which is a sequel to The Shining. However, he's also kind of making a sequel to Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining, which differed significantly from Stephen King's novel very famously, but I think he did a great fucking job reconciling.
This tied those two differences together and blended it in. If you've seen The Shining movie and read The Shining book, you watch this movie, you will see elements of both and how those differences kind of get resolved. I was mostly thinking of the boiler room scenes.
Yeah.
All right. Where oh, okay, this is kind of going like the book, but it's a little bit different. You'll just see when you this is a real good way of telling this story. Another thing that really got me with this story is that Ewan McGregor is playing Danny Torrance grown up. Well, he also played Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, yeah.
And this movie is very much about the Force, too, right along with... The Shining is the Force. It's just a different tale and a different setting from a different time. It's not in another galaxy a long time ago, far, far away. This is now, all right? And in many ways, this is a lot like a story about, I guess you could say, a gray Jedi or a fallen Jedi going against Sith. Because these bad guys, really, they're fucking... Basically, very similar. They all have the Shining. They're psychic, and they're kind of like psychic vampires.
They're psychic vampires,
but they have some of them have different abilities too that you'll recognize from other King books.
Yeah,
other King stories. So they're kind of working as almost like a witches' coven, almost kind of like a band of gypsies, gypsy fortune telling. The main villain kind of looks like a gypsy fortune teller to me.
Rose Ferguson was the actress that played
one of the best villains.
Rebecca Ferguson.
One of the best villains, man.
She's fucking great.
She's great in this movie.
She is great in this. And I feel like a lot of I didn't read any reviews before we went and saw the movie, but I read some afterward before we recorded this, and every single one of them has called her out because she's such a complex villain. Yeah. It's she's clearly super evil. Yeah,
in Star Wars lore, she would be a Sith Lord or Sith Lady. She showed some fucking weird-ass psychic abilities, astral projection, kind of like telepathy, and at one time she kind of showed some supernatural strength.
Yeah.
Which is... you just got to see the movie. It's good. Some people, I've heard some complaints saying that it's not scary. I don't really know where they're coming from. I saw it in IMAX.
Yeah.
And the sound effects and the sounds fucking were awesome in this. When they go back to the Overlook, the way it sounded in there, I kind of... At first I was like, they might have overplayed their hand in The Shining. It was silent all the time in the Overlook, which is kind of eerie. They went another way, because you don't see this... You're not going to see the Overlook you remember. I mean, it's been abandoned for a long time.
But But I have to say,
it's fucking looked cool.
Props to the fucking production designing team because holy crap!
Yeah.
I mean, they really went all out in completely and deliberately, very meticulously recreating the Overlook, except many years later. That it's been like abandoned because
it's like an abandoned Hulk.
Yeah, and it's like it looks great. I mean, they did a really good job.
If any of you people ever been into an old abandoned building that was big like that, like when you're a kid and you break into an old abandoned hospital or some shit like that, you know, there's the power's off. There's this fucking eerie feeling of being in a damn cave or in a sunken ship or in a ghost ship out on the ocean. You get that kind of impression when they went into the Overlook, the way it showed in snow at night, and they walk in and the sounds of the wind fucking blowing through there. It just was, and it's fucking haunted. You know, you saw that movie.
Yeah. But I mean, I really, really liked the way that Mike Flanagan, like I said, he really balanced. You know, the first 2 acts are very much like an adaptation of the book. A couple things are different, like not a huge amount. There was a couple like plot. You know, because the book is very long. I think it's like 600 pages, and it's kind of rambling. It's like a road trip kind of movie. And there's like a couple of subplots that were taken out, which weren't all that important. So I think he did a good job, like just, you know, kind of getting it down to like a concise kind of like plot thing. I mean, this movie is still pretty long. It's 2.5 hours.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel long.
It really doesn't. I mean, like I said, it's such a sprawling novel that I think
the audience loved it. The audience loved it. Nobody got bored or anything.
It's not boring. Not in the least. No. I didn't think it was.
There wasn't even any slow spots in it.
I didn't think there was. No. I mean, every single thing that happened for a purpose.
Yeah, and there's all this weird psychic phenomena and pretty much everything, it's dramatized. It's definitely dramatized. This is a fucking movie. But every psychic phenomenon that is portrayed in this movie is one that has been reported.
Yeah.
Either reported in real parapsychology cases or given to us through legend. You know, you'll see what I'm talking about, you know. Some of it's kind of legendary, you know what I mean? That maybe something like that exists. It's been rumored to exist, that kind of shit. Which I just like that. I like the plausibility. Even though, you know, there's a lot of showbiz in terms of, you know, the presentation. It's a movie, you know, but there's still a lot of plausibility in certain effects that you see.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
But yeah, I mean, this... I was like hoping that this would be good, but I was like, well, I'm trying to temper my expectations because I'm like, something like this could go drastically wrong. Because like I said, it's such an ambitious project.
The trailers did not do justice to this.
They really didn't.
I was looking at that trailer and I was going, that looks almost like something made for TV. That's what I was thinking. I said, that doesn't look all that good. No, but the movie's very different from the trailer. I went back and watched that trailer and went, yeah, that trailer's not really it. That trailer's not what that movie's like.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe like the trailer was fine, but it's like it was a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
So I was kind of trying to think, well, you know, I'm not going to be sad if it's not good or anything like that. But then I was like surprised at like how much better. And actually, like I said, I liked this better than the book, which I don't say.
I liked it much better than I thought I was going to like.
I liked it better than It Chapter 2 as well.
It was better than It. I think I like it better than Joker. Even though
that's a bold statement.
Even though Joker is a very different kind of movie, I enjoyed this more than Joker.
Yeah,
I liked Joker. I had Joker in the number 1 position for the movie of the year. I think this one took its place. I think I'm gonna put Joker at number 2, even though I'm pretty sure Joker is gonna kick this movie's ass at the box office.
Probably.
But me personally, for my own personal reasons, you know what I mean? Maybe
because this is like your kind of thing.
Yeah, because of Mammoth Mountain and everything that happened to me, you know, and fucking growing up watching The Shining, I'm gonna put this one in number 1.
Yeah, this is definitely something that's in your
better
wheelhouse.
Than It too. Better than It.
I liked this a lot better than It Chapter 2. I liked It Chapter 2, but I liked this a lot better.
This one was better.
It might have been slightly better than the first one.
I think it was.
And I have to say too, there's like a scene in the middle of this. Like I said, it has some differences from the book. Not a huge amount, but they had to like finagle some things because he was trying to match it up with Kubrick's film as well, so it would kind of all go together. There's one scene in the middle of this of like a particular character getting murdered, and that was pretty disturbing.
Yeah, it's supposed to be though.
Yeah.
Here's another thing I heard complaints. You see Wendy Torrance and you see Jack Torrance. They're not played by, of course.
Well, obviously because.
And they didn't use any CG to fake them or anything.
I'm glad they didn't.
They're played by other actors. I think they did a great job.
I do too. Actually,
some people said,
they should have CGI'd it. I don't think they should have. I don't like when they do that.
They had a good Wendy.
Yeah,
that sounded just like Shelley.
And that was, you know who that was? That was, I don't think you saw it, but that was actually Alex Esso. She was in Starry Eyes, which was one of my very favorite horror movies from the last few years. Yeah, so she played Wendy.
And Jack comes back.
And that was...
and it's real hard to fucking beat Jack Nicholson in that character. It's very hard.
And he didn't do an impression of him.
He didn't do a Jack Nicholson impression, which I'm going to give him credit for that. Because doing a Jack Nicholson impression would have fucked that up.
Yeah.
He just went in there and did his own interpretation of Jack. And it was pretty damn close.
And in a way, like, here's what I was thinking, because when I saw that kind of pivotal scene, like in The Overlook, where that character is there, I was thinking to myself, Danny was only 5 when his father died.
So he wouldn't really
remember what he looked like or what he, and also you have to think too that this version of Jack Torrance is the hotel reflecting that character back to Danny.
Yeah, don't spoil too much.
Which I'm just saying that, in The Shining, that was the same thing that happened with Grady. Like, he had a different name, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about at first. Because
they kind of blend
They all blend into one. It's like, yes, you're still kind of that person, but not really, because you're kind of becoming integrated with, like, the hotel.
Then there's another aspect of, in Star Wars type lore and mythology, sometimes the good guys have to confront evil in an evil place. Kind of like Luke going on Dagobah, going down into the old Sith temple to have a vision, where he sees Vader and shit. In a way, this kind of goes along that same theme of having to go to an evil place to confront evil. And that's what all this going to the Overlook was really kind of all about, But... which I think that just kind of fit into that whole motif of psychic warrior. I like that shit,
Which, like I said, and I was saying to this to you last night in the car, I was like, the final third, the final confrontation, which happens at the Overlook and stuff like that. I was thinking in the book, I was like, obviously because in Stephen King's book, The Shining, the Overlook got blown up at the end of the book. So, but in Kubrick's movie, like, obviously it was still there. So they had to kind of reconcile that. And I liked the way they did that. So I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, in the book, Dr. Sleep, I was like, where did they have the final confrontation? I thought it was just a random field. It wasn't. It was actually the field where the Overlook used to be. So they did actually tie. Yeah, because I was sitting, I couldn't remember. Like, I was just like, I thought it was just some random field, and I couldn't remember that it was where the hotel used to be. But yeah, but they did reconcile that really well. Like I said, if you like Haunting of Hill House, if you like Gerald's Game, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't like this. It's an amazing movie.
The Shining.
He did a really good job. Like I said, it's not Kubrickian in the way the first movie is, but it has enough of that feel to it.
Yeah, he did do some stuff with music and shots and.
But he's not like.
He's not trying to.
It's not like a pastiche of it.
No, he's not trying to ape Kubrick.
Because he's got his own style.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? And his style is very much all over this.
But he throws some of that Kubrick back at you in certain points to get you to remember.
Yeah.
Remember this setting? Remember that setting?
Yeah. Which makes sense because, like I said, this is a sequel and these are characters that, many years, and this is Danny's memories of, this place that caused him so much trauma as a kid. So obviously you're going to see some callbacks to that. But, you know what I mean? It's... Like I said, I have to say this is easily one of the best horror movies of the year, one of the best Stephen King adaptations probably ever.
So far, I think it's the best movie of the year.
Really?
Yep.
We've seen a lot of really good movies this year.
I'd put Joker right underneath it.
I mean, we saw this, we saw Parasite, we saw Joker, we saw The Lighthouse. There was a lot of really good movies this year, you guys.
I'm gonna put this one above Joker just because of the content.
Yeah, because you like this kind of thing too. I still like Joker a little bit better, I think, but. I don't know.
They're both on par. They're just different stories. They're different stories.
It's hard to compare them.
What they're bringing to the table is both different. I liked them both. I think I like this one a little bit more.
Yeah. You seem to enjoy this one more.
Yeah, I want to see this one again.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see it again too because like I said, I'm sure there was a lot of shit I missed out on. You know what I found out? That, there's a scene where like the one kid, baseball boy, that was played by the kid from Good Boys.
Yeah.
There was a scene where he was at the baseball game, You know, and the guy was talking to the other guy in the stands, like, about how he always knows that, you know, where the ball's, like, he can read the pitcher's mind and stuff. Do you know the kid's dad was played by Danny Lloyd, who played Danny in The Shining? And I didn't even realize that until I looked it up later. I'm like, holy shit.
Now, a lot of people, you know, might say, well, this isn't the original book, and it's not, you know, and The Shining movie wasn't the a lot of the really good shit, this is going all the way back to the original Star Wars trilogy, was a group effort. You had an idea, man, and then other guys kind of whittled it away and made it into something that is fantastic. And then you have Lucas doing the prequels, where it's basically just him, and they're not quite as good as those original ones, like, you know, Empire Strikes Back and stuff. And King is like that a little bit. He's a real good idea, man. He's a good writer. I like some of his short stories. And if you're just reading a short story by him, you're like, yeah, that's good. But adapting that shit to cinema, you got to go with somebody that really knows cinema. Yeah. And King is not a cinema guy.
Yeah, he's not a movie guy. You know,
if you were to have King do The Shining, his version of The Shining,
he did do it.
You end up with The Shining TV series.
Yeah.
That's what
Which you liked more than
I liked it.
I really did.
I liked it, but it is not that The Shining from the Kubrick.
No.
The way to go if you want to make a self-contained movie is you do it the way Kubrick did it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do a mini-series, then you could do it the way King did it for the TV series, but that does not make a good movie. It makes an okay series, but not a good movie.
Depends on the book.
A movie's got to be within 2.5 hours.
And a lot of King stuff doesn't really translate that well to the screen because
internal monologue.
A lot of his stuff is internal monologue, characterization, you know, stuff like that. Right. And that doesn't tend to, it's not very cinematic.
And then little characters who are well described pop out and do something for a short period of time in the story, and then they're gone.
And then disappear,
And then they disappear, never to be seen
because they don't have time to, like, flesh out all the subplots.
And you can't do that in movies.
Which I think, like I said, that was really good. I think Mike Flanagan did a good job. Like, yes, this is an adaptation of Dr. Sleep, the book. Yeah. But he changed a few things. He changed, you know, shit that happened at the end. He changed some other shit in the middle. Like, he took out a couple subplots. But like I said, I think he did a really good job paying homage to Kubrick's film, and as well as the original book of The Shining and the book of Dr. Sleep. And he did a really good job, like, putting them all together into a cohesive whole that still had something larger to say without it being... You know, and like I said, he just did a really good job kind of condensing everything down, but not making it seem like, oh, shit was happening too fast, or who is this person, and then they just disappeared. Like, that didn't happen. Like, it was very concise. He did a
masterful job.
Yeah, it just came out really, really good.
Kubrick's The Shining was fucking panned.
At the
time that it came out.
And people complained that it wasn't scary at the time.
They complained it wasn't scary, didn't really make much money. Over time...
That movie scared the crap out of me.
Over the time, that's become a classic. I think over time this movie will be appreciated.
Probably will, yeah.
I think they're gonna. I think it's gonna make a good money. I think it'll kick the shit out of the Terminator that's running right now. I'm convinced of that. But I think this will be I think this will probably make more than It.
Yeah, I don't know. It made a shit ton of money, but
I think this might make more than It.
But maybe, like I said, I definitely like this better than It Chapter 2.
But over time, people are gonna play this one right alongside with The Shining. You watch. 10 years from now, they'll still put in Dr. Sleep.
And then we'll see both of them together.
Yeah, they're gonna be.
That would be really cool. I would like for that to happen because it's a really, really good continuation. Like I said, I like it better than the book, honestly.
Yeah.
The book Dr. Sleep.
Yeah, so definitely go watch it. This is a must see.
Yeah, go check it out.